Some of the most frequent questions I get are about nice person syndrome. I have an entire video on that, but let me go ahead and give you just a quick overview. So when you think about working in a company, when you start out as an employee, you typically have to be nice if you want to keep your job and get promoted. And most people are. When you're promoted to a leader, though, that niceness can be a problem. It doesn't feel nice to hold other people accountable, and it certainly doesn't feel nice to fire them. And that's nice person syndrome. Leaders delay holding people accountable. They hold back from speaking the truth, and they delay terminations, hoping and praying something that's not going to get better will get better. And it rarely, if ever, does. Nice person syndrome is an incredibly common trait in today's leaders, and it's hampering lots of great leadership. And you can counter nice person syndrome, and one of the ways to do that is to really understand the difference between kindness and niceness. Look, let's be clear, being kind as a leader is a good thing. It's the niceness that gets in the way. So what's the difference? Well, let me give you a couple examples of kindness versus niceness in leadership. Kindness in leadership is telling people the truth. Niceness is telling people what they want to hear. Kindness is holding people accountable. Niceness is letting things go. Kindness is expecting the best of people. Niceness is hoping people will do their best. And, hope doesn't always turn into reality. Kind leaders always do the next right thing. And I want to help you with that. That's actually the first step. Always do the next right thing as a leader. If you want to be kind, but not let niceness get in the way, always ask yourself, what is the next right thing? Sometimes the next right thing might be disciplining somebody. Sometimes that might be putting them on a performance improvement plan. If they've been on these plans before, the kind thing to do may be to let them go, move on with their life so they can find another job that better suits them. By always doing the next right thing, you can be a kind and compassionate leader without getting that niceness thing hampering your efforts. So that's step one. Now, step two, check your motives before you take actions. Kind leaders are always thinking ahead. They realize that they can be kind but firm. And if that's what you're doing, you're being kind but firm by holding somebody to task, that's the right thing. That's a great motive. But if you're avoiding doing something, if you're not writing somebody up, if you're not starting to find a replacement for somebody, that's your niceness, your nice person syndrome. So always check your motives. Ask yourself, why am I doing this, or why am I avoiding this? And now step three, say what you mean. Just don't say it mean. Now, I wish I'd come up with that statement. I'd heard that a long time ago, but boy, it made sense to me. I can say what I mean, I can tell my truth, but I never have to say it mean. And I want to give you a powerful example to close out this video. So I was interviewing somebody one time, and there was an intense body odor that came up during the interview. It's a very hard thing to deal with. And it got worse and worse, and I started to gag and gag. And I had to end the interview about 8 minutes in. And so I wanted to get out of my office because I couldn't open the window, so I invited this person to walk with me to the elevators. Now, she was dressed impeccably. I mean, just dressed very professionally. It was the oddest thing. I could not understand why, this terrible smell was emanating from this person. So we get to the elevator, and she's like, well, I'm sorry, am I not a fit? I mean, what's going on? And I said, well, can I be direct? She said, of course. My mistake was I hemmed and hawed a little bit. I went, because I was embarrassed. And finally, out of frustration, I blurted out just like this. I said, well, you kind of stink. And I wish, like in those cartoons, I could have shoved words back into my mouth, which is physically impossible. I immediately said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, that was so insensitive. She reached out and she touched my arm. She said, oh no, please tell me more. Now, I was a little repulsed because she smelled and she's touching my arm, but I was also stunned because she was not offended. She wanted to know more. Well, long story short on this story, she was on some really powerful antibiotics that were creating really intense BO. And she was so grateful that I told her the truth because she'd been on interviews that day and other days, and none of them lasted very long. Gee, wonder why. And she just was so impressed that I was willing to be so compassionate and honest. Get that, compassionate and honest. Say what you mean, just don't say it mean. Now, my words weren't perfect, but I said them with such compassion. I said them kindly. That was kindness in action. I was the only kind person to tell her the truth. Get this, I eventually hired her. Yeah, I had her come back another day when she was not on the antibiotic. And she was a great employee. She said, I felt so intensely loyal to you from that point forward. Even though I told her, she stank. Look, if I could do that in a way that wasn't perfectly polished, yeah, it was say what you mean, just don't say it mean, I could have picked my words more carefully. In this third step, you as a leader as well can always tell the truth. That is the ultimate kindness. So tell the truth. Speak your motives. Say what you mean, just don't say it mean. And that's being a kind leader without letting niceness get in the way. Because niceness, nice person syndrome, can undermine your organization, undermine your hiring, undermine their career. Kindness, though, that's a wonderful thing. And you can do that all day and be highly successful as a leader.